And what we're trying to do is to consolidate all these screens. We think we can get rid of 75 to 90% of the screens so that things are organized in a very concise, precise, and logical way. And so we're doing this in stages because we realize if we all of a sudden change GoSignMeUp at the outset, then it's just going to be confusing to everyone. So we've done it in phases. The first phase is pretty much done, and I think some of you have had the option or have tried, have played around with this feature, but it's with our Coarse Grid and a Coarse Dashboard. I'm not going to spend much time with this, but I wanted to just kind of review it just a bit for some of you, introduce it for others, and then you can see the direction we're going in terms of our overall interface and features that we're going to be adding. So this is the Coarse Grid as you would know it today. And the purpose of the Coarse Grid is twofold. Number one, to bring all your course information together to be able to create very customizable and flexible reports. And the other thing is to be able to perform actions so that you can gain access to certain functionalities just at a mouse click. And so what you see here is the Coarse Grid, and each one of these at the top, you'll see that I'm hovering over some of the filters. You can see your current courses, past courses, canceled, etc. But then as you look into the grid itself with the columns or the fields, you'll see from left to right the name of the course, then moving to the right, start date, start time, close for enrollments, instructors, etc. Then you'll see a whole bunch of columns concerning the enrollments. Now, what's really great about this is that you can go into any one of these columns and resort them. So for instance, in the enroll column, I'm sorting them ascending. You'll see that it's 0 and goes to the higher course numbers. And then as I click it again, it makes it descending so that you can view them in different ways. But we go a step further because you can actually go in and change the columns and fields that you see. Such as if I go to the columns and in the drop down, you see these are the ones checked are the ones that we're using. And let's say, for instance, you're not charging for classes, so you don't care about seeing earnings. I can turn that on or off or add other fields, whatever you want. But the other great thing is in the upper right-hand corner, you can export that to Excel. So in essence, this becomes a reporting tool for you so that you can put this into a flat file. So that works real good. The other thing that's kind of neat about this is the fact that you can take any of these columns and just drag them to a new area, and it moves them if you want to look at it in a different way. And it's going to remember your settings here as long as you come back into the same browser in the same computer, because it memorizes those in the browser that you're using. But we also talked about how the fact that you can perform functions here too. So as I click on the actions, you see that we can do sign-in sheets, certificates, taking attendance, all these types of things, duplicating the course. Remember in the past you had to go to different menus and try to find them. Here it's all in a logical place. But I wanted to show you a new feature we just released yesterday. You're among the first to see it. And that's with our sign-in sheets. We've had a lot of people ask that, can you provide a single sign-in sheet for a multi-day course? Yes, we can now, so that you don't need to create a sheet for each one of the days. You can still do that, but if we click print roster and I put it onto a multi-day thing, it actually pops up and you can see now this is a 2-day course, and so we can have that automatically printed out once if you want to go that direction with it. So that's one of the new features. That's in there now. If you've got your site updated, then that certainly is there for you. So what we've done also then is this gives you a view of all the courses and gives you kind of a 30,000-foot view and can run some reports. But if you want to look at just the course itself, you click on the course title and that takes you to the course dashboard. And I see we've got some comments in here. There's some people that like the dashboard, and we appreciate that very much. The course dashboard is a little bit different than the grid because you're focusing on just a single course. Each one of these boxes are widgets. And we have 3 types of widgets in the dashboard. On the left-hand side, the left column, these widgets are for editing the course. So if I click on the description, you can see I can edit it, but we now have a WYSIWYG editor. You can add bold, italics, colors, hyperlinks, bullets, numbers, it's all there. Now the widgets in the middle that you see, enrollment statistics, enrollment, this is for reporting. So instead of, like you see on the grid where it's just the numbers of people in the courses, here you see their actual names. So if I click on the tab here, that gives you a different filter with the waiting list, who's canceled. And of course, at any time, you see your little export tool there to move that into an Excel spreadsheet. You can also click on the student's name and go directly into their account. But on the right-hand side, this column, these are actions. Some of these things you saw in the course grid, but you can perform these within the dashboard also. Now we have a new feature. We've just partnered with a company called Get Promoted. And again, this may not be appropriate for some of you, but for those of you that actually want to promote your courses and get people to sign up, this helps you to do that. So you click Promote Your Course. This takes you out to our partner, Get Promoted. In essence, what they do, here's how it works. First thing you do is you get your course information, the description and pictures if you want, and you add that to Get Promoted. Right here, add it. Then what they do is they take that and promote it to all sorts of distribution lists, social networking sites, press release sites, so that it's going to help to get your courses out there and get the names out there and get your courses promoted. Then you can click on the website and you'll have an account in there, which then will allow you to see the metrics of who's read the reports and all that. Their media network is really quite extensive. And if you want to read more in details, I'd go to getpromoted.com. And you can see that you've got all types of press networks and places like that. So that's a very useful thing. This is the only thing in GoSignMeUp where we actually charge extra, and that's only if you use it and how much you use it. It's $15 per course, or for a group of 20 of them, $200. So that's Get Promoted. Now let's get into the new stuff, the stuff you've been waiting for. As I said, we're not going to do this right away, so don't sweat it. You still have the old way of doing it. It'll be that way for quite a while because we know that you need to make transitions over to the new interface. So don't sweat that part of it. But instead of doing all these drop downs, we're moving everything over on the left-hand side to a navigation area. So I click on it. So we're going to go to the rosters. This is a brand new thing, and this allows you to see all of your rosters at a glance with the student names. Like the course grid, and then as I scroll over to the right, you'll see that not only are we seeing the students and the course names, you're seeing information like transactions. You're seeing a lot more information here. And like the course grid, you can sort things, you can add and remove different columns in here, as you can see, so that you get a really good view of the courses and the rosters as well. And anytime you can export this. You can also take in, like for instance, we're kind of seeing all of them now. You can shrink them down with the little minus key, and that shrinks it down so that if you want to just open it up, or have it closed, so it saves some screen space. But then within each one of these courses, look what we have. You've got all these things that you can do, all these functions. It's right there. We talked about being concise. This is one of the areas where it's very concise, saving you lots of time. But what makes this a really good tool is you can do a different search, such as at the top, you'll see by course name, course number. You can do a date range if you move over to the right. So if, let's say I want to just look at my Final Cut classes, Final Cut. And so it's going to do a search, and it's only going to show those classes. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to see the classes with the students in there. And if you're doing any type of payments and things like that, you can see that as well, along with a lot of other fields. So that's one of the big areas that we're going to be adding. I should point out that if you do an update, you're going to have these. If you've got an update as of today, you will have all of these functionalities at your access, and you access that by going to the course grid. Now, the ones that are check marked in with a red asterisk, that means that it's a beta release, and that means we're putting it out there for you to kind of play around with. You're not going to break anything, so don't sweat that. But it's a beta release, and it'd be helpful if you do notice features and things that you would want to add or delete, or any thoughts there, that you share that with us. That's very critical because we're designing this to make it more efficient for you. Now, add a course. This is a new thing, and again, this is in beta format. These give you the the required fields all in one page. So rather than with the old way of doing it where you've got 2 miles of scrolling to get to everything, again, we want to get it very clean, very much in the screen there. We're going to be really working on this one a lot as far as adding the right fields and functionality. And this is one that, the reason that we're putting this out is so that you can have input on the direction and how these features work. And so any feedback here would be greatly appreciated. If you are doing a lot of intricate things with the fields that aren't required, you may need to go back and edit within that area. But that's certainly there. Now, moving on down, we're going down this navigation area. You have grids for users, students, supervisors, instructors, and sub-admins. So let's go to the students. This is actually a great way to save lots of time because you now have a listing of all your students. And you will see that you can see the students with their username, how many classes that they've enrolled in. If you look here, sort of the middle of the screen, get a good overview of this. And then, of course, you can resort any of these columns like you would, and you can add and remove different fields in here so that you can, so if I don't care about the job title, I can certainly remove that from the thing, from the grid. You can also do a search. So in other words, if I want to see all students that are in the marketing department, then I can do a search there and it shows all the marketing students. And the marketing that we have here, that's a custom field in the custom registration area with so that yours may not be marketing, it may be department or whatever custom fields you're using. So you can take the students and search and create different lists on different criteria. And of course, as always, you can go to the actions area and perform these functions. Now, one of the new functions that we've added, if you go to the student, is called Add to Transcript. Up pops a transcript bar or a pop-up window where I can add a class. Let's say that I've got a student that took a class outside of what your catalog would be in GoSignMeUp, and you can certainly do that. You can also add them to their transcript. Let's say they took a class but didn't register, and you need to go after the fact. You can add them into a GoSignMeUp catalog class as well. And you've got all these different fields that you can put in there, so that you can now just very easily update them and so forth. Now, Shane, before we move on, are there any questions now or anything that we can address now? I'll kind of do a little pause point here.
They wanted to see a search by date on the course grid.
Okay, let's go back to the courses.
And there's the date column up in the top. I mean, the date fields to search by from and to.
Okay, so that you can change your search criteria. Let's do courses between September 10th and let's just go to November. Whoops, I'm getting happy fingers here. Pardon me. Let's do that again. So let's go to, I've got a trackpad and I'm not quite used to using a magic trackpad. So there you go. There's your criteria by dates, setting that up. Any other questions? We in pretty good shape there, Shane?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good question. Good question. So we've seen the students. Now, if we move on down to the navigational area, you'll see that we've got some reports. And you're going to see more and more reports show up here. And if you've got thoughts and suggestions for reports that you'd like to see in here, please share that with us. So this would be the custom fields. If you create any kind of custom fields in your account registration area, these fields will show up and you can see how many people answered those custom fields. I know we have a small number of clients that wanted something like this, and so that's available to you here. Now we've got what's called the administrator report. By the way, one of the things that we're going to be fixing on here, you'll notice that I have to scroll to get all my columns in, and that's going to change so that if I open the window up more, I'll open up a little bit for you here. You see it doesn't expand, but the actual grid will expand from left to right so that you can see more. That's one of the things we're actually working on right now. But the thing that's cool about this is you can actually go in and you can see the students, and then you see their classes and their transcripts and all that information here. It's a good overall report with a lot of useful fields. But the thing that's great for administrators is, let's say that I want to see everyone in the sales department. And so then it's going to filter so that I only see students in the sales department or whatever custom fields you happen to be using there. So that's a very, very useful tool. Or I only want to see students that are in the marketing department, and that's what it'd be. So it'd be great if you're using that with different regional areas in your custom fields so that you can check, and see what the enrollments are and what the activity is like. And as always, you see our little export to Excel. Now the review orders, that isn't working right now, but we're hoping next week that it will be. Now we've done a lot of research. We've done a lot of research in terms of what kind of functions create more havoc, wreak havoc in terms of taking a lot of time to create, or maybe being a little bit on the confusing side. And the one that comes up is email configuration. And so we've simplified that. If you look at the navigational bar on the left-hand side for your automated email responses, you can see we categorize them by course, student, instructor, and miscellaneous. They also are shown as a tab here in the middle. You see as you get into the messaging area there as well. So if I want to do a course, and then you see the sub-tabs below that, I want to do a pre-start date email message, I can do that. Or if I want to go to students, you'll see that the sub-tabs change. But the thing that's really neat about this is you no longer have 500 miles of scrolling with email messages and trying to get those set up. And it's a lot simpler because you now have a WYSIWYG editor so that you can do your HTML without having to code it in HTML, bullets, colors, links, things like that. But here's what's kind of neat is that you've got your, let's go back to the course area. You've got your tokens that you can put in here. So let's just go back to the confirmation. I'm going to put my cursor down here. So as I go to my tokens, I can click, let's say, for instance, a course token, and let's do location. Type that in, put that in, and the location appears right there where you had your cursor. You can always copy paste it into, or cut paste it into other areas as well. So that the email area is going to be a whole lot easier to deal with as far as that goes, and things that you can be more self-empowered to not have to rely as much on our customer support to create that, and the fact also that you can use some HTML coding. Now the last thing I wanted to leave you with is, if you go back, let's just go back to our home page, or the portal page on the admin side. You see there's a lot of wasted space here. And we've done a lot of research in terms of, where do people go from here? What kind of things do they want to see from here? What can we do to save you time? So we've created a new portal. And if you go to your navigation area, it's not default, so don't sweat it. You're not going to see anything new unless you actually click on it. If I click on the home navigation area, this is what the new portal will look like when you eventually, at some point, when you log in and GoSignMeUp. It's available to you now if you want to start using it. What's really neat about this is you can customize this. If I don't like where the widget is, I can simply move it over to a different area. Or if I don't want it in here at all, I just click the little X and it goes away. Or if I want to shrink it down, you can see I can shrink it down. But let's talk about each one of these widgets, starting in the upper left-hand corner. Newsletter. This gives you a chance to just blatantly see, here are the new newsletters, which is a great way to see what's new and what's happening in GoSignMeUp. Then if you move to the right, you get your courses at a glance. It's just a real basic, what's happening with the courses, what's the enrollment look like. You can go through and see all the active courses. Moving to the right, again, on the upper right-hand corner, this is where you can run your updates to your site. And what's great is when you run the updates, you're also seeing below that the release notes. Now we get into some statistics down into the middle row. Starting on the left side, you can see just a little graph here that shows you how the enrollment's working. Of course, you can save this as a picture or as a chart, so that if you want to dump it into a document of some sort, and you can export it as well. But what's great is you can change the parameters. So if I want to change the year, I can see a different set of graphs there. This middle one is that shows your students that are inactive and active. And I'm not sure, I'm going to be honest with you here, I'm not sure what the parameters are in terms of if that's inactive in a 12-month period or within the agreement of, 12 months of your agreement. I'm not sure exactly where that's landed yet, and we'll certainly find out more for you there. But this just gives you a good overview as far as seeing your active versus inactive students, or students that haven't signed up yet, or that haven't signed up for a class, that is. And then this to the right shows the chart for students that have been transcripted and finished classes. So it's a great tool for administrators just to kind of know the flow and what's happening. In the lower left-hand corner is an email area where you can email, you can see your audit list for emailing. But then if I want to email all the students or all the supervisor administrators, or create my custom email list if I'm doing any type of data mining, in terms of student history and sending an email blast out, these tools are available to you right here, right in front of your face. And then for those of you that are charging, this pending refunds thing I think will be very cool, because you're going to be able to see all the students that need to be refunded right here in front of you, so that you can see that as you come in to go sign me up. Now, Shane, do we have any questions or anything that we need to cover here?
They wanted to see more about enrollment reports, so maybe some of the options you can get to enrollment statistics either via the dash or the rosters, the new rosters.
So as you go up to the rosters, specifically, I'm not sure what they're wanting to see here, other than you get these enrollment reports and you can see how many students are in there, and you can export these as a flat file. And some of the fields that you can see whether they attended or not. And you can actually click on there. Let's take a look at some of the columns. And so those are some of the fields that you can include or exclude from there. I'll leave that up there just for a few minutes. And then you can also limit the courses that you see just by the search that you would see at the very top. And as we said, this can be exported. The other one in terms of enrollments, let me show you this one. I don't know if you're aware of it. This is in the system now. If you click Other Reports, this is not in the new area yet, but it's a new feature. And I'm going to go on the left-hand corner at the bottom, Upcoming Course Summary Report. If I click V1, basically this looks very much like the course grid. You'll see the course name, the location, and then it has enrollments, really brief there in terms of percentages. But what's different about this is that you can email this as a routine. So if I click Send a Report on a Schedule to, you put the address in there, the email address, then you select the days that you want to run this report. This is a very powerful tool, because you don't even need to go in to GoSignMeUp. If you want to just see on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday kind of what's happening with the courses and enrollments, this is a great tool for enrollments as well. Is there anything else, Shane?
No, I think we're doing all right. Hang on.
I'm seeing some great comments, by the way. We appreciate this on how you love this and how this is going to help. The key thing on this whole thing, just so you understand, is we're trying to make everything more concise and logical. That's why as we build this, and we brought this out as a beta so that you could play with it and so that you actually get to have input as this develops and evolves. And it's there right now, and that's why we would really enjoy and appreciate having your feedback on this. The other thing that I'll make note of is that in terms of browsers, you need to have Internet Explorer 9, or it works with Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. And the reason that you need the current browsers is we're using some really cutting edge technology and very, very new technologies, so it needs the newer browsers. And so for those of you that have IE9 or 8, you might want to switch over to IE9 or bring in Safari, or not Safari, but bring in Firefox or Chrome. Is there anything else, Shane?
Actually, there was a question about pending payments. Is there a way to see that in the widget? I don't know if there's not.
Talking about the widget over here on the portal? I don't have any data to show you But if there were data in here that's basically you'd have the order number, and then what, you know, the change, the date that it happened, the order total, and the total paid. So that then you could go in there and it would have the students' names in here, so that you click on it and go into their account too if you want to apply the refund as well. Now, as far as the review orders over on the left side, unfortunately, that's not working right now. Hopefully, we'll be here very soon. Next week, probably, and don't quote me on this because software developers have been dog years, not human years. Probably middle late next week. You know, if you do another update, you're going to see a lot of this stuff, some things that
Hey, Greg, we got
around the edges.
an audio issue. Are you downloading something?
No. Is that with everyone or just one person?
Everyone, I think. Something's going crazy.
Well, you gotta love the internet. Why don't we? This is probably a good time to kind of finish it off here. But here are the contacts for you. I encourage you to email into that features thing. And would encourage you, if you've got any questions or thoughts, call me, or if you want another live demo just for your organization, I'll certainly be glad to do that. And of course, that credit card thing special that we have with Moneris. So if there aren't any other questions, Shane, why don't we say goodbye here and thank you again to everyone for, yes, a question. No other questions, Shane?
No, we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and everyone have a good rest of the day, and thanks for sharing your time.